Okay.
We
Now
start.
we're going to start.
Sure.
Okay, so, nice to meet you. I'm Winona, one of the organizer of the Startup Weekend Yangon 2023. So this is my second time joining the Startup Weekend, but this is my very first time hosting this experience sharing session. So nice to see you, Neil, and nice to meet you, everyone in the room. So this before
Likewise, my pleasure.
yeah, before we start talking about your experience of so starting weekend Yangon like this year then is about the innovation and global scalability. Why we choose this thing is because right now current situation in Myanmar and also the economic economic decline has led to a rise in local startup. So there are so many local startups these days. However, the many startups like they face fierce competition, and as their products and service often resemble each other, and also to succeed in this saturated market, differentiation becomes essential for their success. So that's why we aim to encourage young startup founder, young entrepreneur, young individuals to generate creative concept to gain a competitive advantage and grow their idea within 54 trailing hour by learning how to think, how to bake like a startup, and how to pitch in front of the investor. So that's why we host this event. We host this startup event, startup weekend event. So
Okay.
yeah. So this is a little bit about the Startup Weekend Yangon 2023. So yeah, right now
Excellent.
I want you to introduce a little bit about yourself and also your background before we start discussing about your experience. So up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, firstly, I have to say, I mean, it's an amazing thing that you're doing in terms of helping startups put together a showcase like this, because I think it helps. When I started building my own company, I didn't have anything around me like that. Although I should have probably looked a little bit more for it. But no, this is I think amazing that you guys are doing this. It not just helps startups, but it helps the community and the country in general. So I think great job on that front. A bit about my background. So I started in healthcare quite some time back. In my sort of mid 20s, I started in healthcare working for a pharma company called Merck in Australia. And but I always had the bug of wanting to do something in healthcare before that. When I graduated from school, I actually wanted to become a doctor and then a neurosurgeon, but I couldn't. I missed out by 5 points, and I couldn't do medicine. So, I kind of shelved that to the side and started, went into finance and started doing different things. But over the years, I've spent a lot of time in multiple healthcare companies, from Shire Pharmaceuticals, GSK, J&J, Medtronic. So you name it, some of the biggest companies, I've kind of worked with them in different roles, different capacities. And so for me, I think the startup, when I decided to kind of move out of full-time sort of employment, and that's when I kind of decided, I want to do something with the experience that I've got, and that's where I ended up building VADN Health. And this is it's a multi-phase solution that we're building, but we've just sort of completed phase one of the build, which we're going to sort of release out into the market. And believe me, I mean, it's not an easy journey. It's taken us a couple of years to get here. Healthcare is complex, so that makes it even more. And startup world is not easy either. From a background perspective, I have studied and practiced finance for a long time, so I know how to run a business. But startup world is different. Starting a company from scratch is not like running a multi-billion-dollar business on a day-to-day basis, right? So I commend all the young entrepreneurs who want to do this, because it's not an easy journey. If I look at it in hindsight, maybe I should have started earlier. not at my ripe old age of 40 something. But, there is never a right time to start a startup. It's when you're ready, I think it'll happen.
Yeah.
So I think most people should not worry about that.
Yeah, you can start anytime and you are ready. So, okay, so you already introduced about yourself, also a little bit about yourself and also about your background. So, like the first question I'd like to ask you is that, like, why, like, where did you got that idea? Like, before you start a business, like, started, first you got the idea. So, where did you get that inspiration? Like, where the ideas came from?
Yeah. Look, that's an amazing question because a lot of the times, we think that's sitting in a room and doing a lot of ideation is the way to go. And sometimes it works. It helps because you're already at something and suddenly you get a fresh idea from the conversations that are happening around you. For me, it was kind of similar in the sense it wasn't in a specific meeting for ideation, but I was visiting a physician in Mumbai. And this is a physician who kind of works with sort of the lower income group in Mumbai in India. And he told me saying, "Look, I love the products from your company, but unfortunately, my patients can't afford it." And that's when sort of the first kernel came in saying, "Okay, there is definitely," because I can see the company end of how things work. I know I've worked with a lot of distributors. I know what manufacturing, the way it is done, what it costs us to manufacture. So I knew there was something that is going wrong somewhere in that sort of spectrum of, a product being shipped off a manufacturing line to when it's being used, for a patient. And so that's basically where the spark came from. And I over the time as I was working, I was learning, I was understanding business, healthcare business itself. And when I decided to start this, I put all of that knowledge into what I've built for VADN Health.
Okay, so you mentioned about you, like, you went to, well, like, first you saw that, like, some people, they can afford the the products, the service. So
Mhm.
after that you got the idea. So who are your target, the class, like middle class or lower class, or who is your target customer after that?
No, so I mean, we right now, phase one of our product is a B2B product. So it's not a consumer product, because the way we're approaching the market is there is a lot that needs to be fixed on the B2B end of healthcare. And once we can fix that, the offerings that we bring from a B2C perspective will become easier to access as well as to use. So we're actually targeting B2B right now. So our main customers are distributors, product manufacturers within healthcare. So, your medical device manufacturers, pharma manufacturers, and obviously hospitals, clinics, and independent GPs, uh, who have their own sort of practice, either one or two doctors together as a practice. So it is addressing those people as the main customers, and obviously we've got customers at both ends of our platform. So yeah.
B2B customer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. So another question is that, like, like if you want to start a business, if you want to build a startup, you have to have a great team. So how do you find people, like, to join you and to make this happen together?
I'll tell you what, I mean, more than an idea, I think the team aspect is one of the toughest pieces of the startup world. I went through a lot of challenges when it came to from the product side, building the product. I must have reached out and even started working with multiple developers and teams. The the challenge always is they promise a lot, deliver very little. And so, it's the team aspect is, I would say, the most crucial when it comes to startup. Luckily, I found an amazing team, from my perspective in terms of building the platform that we built so far, and the other phases that we hope to build. But I agree. I mean, I think the team aspect is the most crucial. And it's not one of those, just because you like someone doesn't mean that they're going to be a great fit. Just because you guys have been friends for 10, 15 years doesn't mean you're going to be a great fit. I even had someone who I've known for a long time, said would bring me funding and made me sign documents and do all of that, and then never delivered. So, it's one of those things where finding the right people on your team, I think, is more than the idea itself. I think becomes very crucial once you have the idea, that you get the right people around yourself.
Got it. So, what's your advice for like young founder who are about to start a business and like who is not ready to make a team? So, is there any tips for them? Like because in Myanmar, young people like they are not really ready to work as a group. So like sometimes they don't know how to communicate, how to like initiate the conversation. And so, is there any
Yeah.
advice on that?
Sure, sure. No, look, my advice would be is, I know youngsters want to start a business, big valuations, make a lot of money, and do that. What you end up seeing these days is that a lot of those big valuations kind of fall to dust, and they don't really work because the product itself doesn't work, right? And some of it comes down to because they don't know how to work with each other, and they've never worked in a corporate, they've never worked in business, unless they come from a family that runs businesses and stuff like that. They've never had that opportunity to be part of a business, because a business has got multiple moving parts, and a lot of things can go wrong at any time. And unless you've ever worked in a pressure environment like that, just trying to wing it all the time doesn't work. You have to learn. So my advice to young entrepreneurs is, if you've never had any work experience, maybe go work a little bit, a couple of years. I'm not saying go work for the next 10, 15 years, but work for a couple of years in a company. Do a lot of things. Don't just, the job description that's been given to you, don't just do that. Do multiple things. Ask for more. But that's how you're going to learn, right? Because what it'll help is later on, when you actually build a startup and you start working together, it is very crucial that you know how to, as you mentioned, right? It's very crucial that you learn how to work with each other, as a team. It's very important. The other thing is, try to fix problems rather than focusing on making money. Because a lot of youngsters these days, their whole idea is, oh, my startup, I just want to make money, basically, valuation, and I'm set for life, kind of thing, right? Yes, maybe that one individual might actually be set for life, but everyone else in the process kind of loses out, right? So uh, try and actually look at problems and try to see how you can simplify something that's wrong, and make it easier to do. It may not be groundbreaking, but if you can actually find a solution to a problem that more than two people have, I think you're on track there. And then you have to see, as you guys, as your caption says, scalability. I think scalability becomes important. Otherwise, it's just a hobby, basically.